Hi, Daniel Breton here. We are back with Martin Gilbert, which is Director of Corporate Strategy and Innovation for Toyota Canada. And I have quite a few questions actually to ask Mr. Gilbert. Hi, Mr. Gilbert. How are you?
Good, you. Thank you.
Uh, it's great. Listen, we're here today because, this is kind of a historical event or maybe prehistorical event because there's going to be an unveiling in a few weeks of this refueling station for hydrogen cars. I see that in the back there you have some kind of a power station for producing hydrogen. That's your contribution, isn't it?
Yes, we have a on-site containerized solution as a backup, but also up to today, it was the place where the Mirai that we currently have on the road as a fleet parked in the area of Quebec City that they could be filled.
Okay. So I just filled up this Mirai. We left Montreal this morning, came here to Quebec City. This is the first refueling hydrogen refueling station in Quebec. The first public one, and it cost us. I think we took about 2 kilograms, and it costs about $11.50 a kilogram when you have a Mirai. Because if you don't have a Mirai and we want to refuel here, let's say for instance you have a Honda or a Hyundai, it's $18.50. Is that it?
Yeah, Arnois sets the price for retail, but for Toyota Mirai, it's $11.50 a kilogram.
Okay, because of your implication with Arnois and the government.
Exactly, yes. It's our
Okay.
contribution.
Exactly. So let's talk about the Mirai now. So this car has been on the road for a few years now. You said that the development of this car has been there at it for Toyota has been at it for 20 years.
For over 20 years.
Okay.
Yeah, it's actually when we launched the first generation Prius 20 years ago, the Mirai or fuel
cell
cell
technology
was already under development.
Yeah. Actually, believe it or not, I first started to interest myself in hydrogen cars in 1974 when I was a kid. And we're talking about the oil crashes back then, and we're starting to talk about hydrogen cars and electric cars. That's how long ago I've been interested about this subject. So, okay, so this car's been on the road for how many years now? 4 years? And, because there's a but, this is not a perfect car. First of all, I asked you a few questions, and you had time to think about the questions because I sent it to you 3 weeks ago. I said, well, first of all, did you make a life cycle analysis of the environmental impact of hydrogen car versus battery electric car versus gas car versus hybrid car? Because I've seen some done in the U.S., but I wanted to see if Toyota did the exercise, and if they did, what came out of it.
Yeah, we did study this at great depth, obviously. It is a complex technology, but it is a smart and very efficient technology, the fuel cell that you find in the Mirai. When it's time to study or do analysis in regards to efficiency of cycle of energy and vehicles, there's many part of this. Okay,
it's complex.
It's very complex. The first one is what we call from the well to the tank.
Wheel.
Yeah, or to the tank first.
Yeah.
So this is in a case of a conventional vehicle, from the fuel extraction to the transformation into regular fuel to the distribution and so forth. The other factor that you have to look at is from the tank to the wheel.
Yeah.
Is what kind of powertrain do you have to transform that energy? What is the waste? What are the emissions and so forth? So we understand very well the conventional combustion engine.
Yeah.
Okay, the first part is not that great, but we have seen a lot of improvement in regards to fuel efficiency in engine. But it's still
No, you're talking about gas engine.
engine. We've seen an improvement, but we've reached the maximum.
Pretty much the maximum at 40%.
Exactly. The next one are fuel cell. In this case, there's nothing before because we have here, for example, in Quebec City, an electrolyzer right on site. Okay. It is produced with green renewable energy like hydroelectricity from Quebec and water, very little water. Yeah. So there's no transformation, no transportation. It's right on site. So from the well to the reservoir, it's extremely probably one of the most efficient way to produce energy. And after that, we have a fuel cell that will only transform what is required to send that energy to the battery to activate the motors.
Okay.
So very, very efficient. Probably one of the most advanced electrified vehicle on the road today is a Toyota Mirai. On the electric, when it's time to acquire electricity, it's the same as a Mirai. It's hydroelectricity.
Yeah.
In this case, in Quebec, it's green, it's clean. The only downfall is that the battery that you need to move the vehicle needs to be of huge capacity. Okay, in a Mirai, the capacity of a battery is 1.2 kilowatt per hour. In a conventional BEV, a battery electric vehicle, you're going to go between 50 and up to 65.
Well, actually, between 30 and
75
and 100.
plus.
Actually, 100.
So, but the average, I'm talking about the average, is about 60, which takes a lot of space, lots of weight. So it's a little bit of a vicious cycle. And also we know that batteries are a little bit affected by the cold temperature and so forth. And also there's a little bit of a downfall is what do you do after most of the lithium battery, which are more complex, more sensitive. So there's the afterlife also.
Yeah. But the afterlife of electric, of a lithium-ion electric car battery is now being recycled up to 95%. An IMH battery, I'm not so sure about the level of. They're 100% recyclable, the NIMH battery.
Yeah.
What about the fuel cell?
The fuel cell also, it's all components that can be recycled. There's no heavy metal, or if they are, they're in limited quantity.
Okay.
So there's no issues. All Toyotas are extremely environmentally friendly.
Okay.
And obviously the Mirai is the leader.
Okay. Thing is, because when you get a hydrogen car, you got a car where most of the hydrogens right now in the world is produced, I'd say 95%, from fossil fuels, mainly natural gas. And most natural gas nowadays in North America is made from shale gas. So it means that, in a sense, when you're not in Quebec, most places where you get your hydrogen, it could be from shale gas.
That's a fact. A lot of the hydrogen produced in the U.S. is made out of
And in Canada as well.
Canada. But if you look at BC, which is the two market that we have right now for fuel cell vehicle, is Quebec and BC. Both are driven through hydroelectricity, which is very clean. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe to be able to get a grant to build a station and get funding, you need to ensure that your hydrogen is also green. But there's many ways to produce hydrogen. There's wind, solar, there's hydroelectricity and other green aspect of producing energy. So obviously for Toyota, that's what we were supporting, like here in Quebec City.
Okay, now this Mirai has been on a roll for 4 years now or so. I heard that there's a next generation Mirai coming up. So could you tell us a bit about it? Not really?
No. As you know, Daniel, we don't usually speculate on future product. This is our strategy, corporate strategy.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that if you join us in Los Angeles in a couple of weeks, we have some pretty interesting release to provide.
Okay, so. I'm very interested. I'm going to be there, that's for sure. What do you say to Yoshikazu Tanaka, which is chief engineer for the Toyota Mirai, the hydrogen car, that said Elon Musk is right. It's better to plug an electric car directly it's better to plug in directly an electric car than a hydrogen car.
I think the article, some of the quotes from the chief engineer were taken out of context because in the same interview, he highlighted the fact that hydrogen is a reliable source to move vehicles, and it's part of a roadmap at Toyota for the future.
Okay, so because you told me earlier that basically what Toyota is saying is that you plan to go on building hybrid cars, plug-in hybrid cars, hydrogen cars, and even electric cars. Is that it? So are you going to do away with gas cars altogether eventually?
Yeah, we have no choice. The consumers demand it. It is part of our vision as a corporation to be carbon free. Within the next decade, 50% of our vehicle will be fully electrified with a vast majority of zero emission. This is our vision. It's not for tomorrow. It's for the long term, but we have no choice. We have to act. Today, one point that I'd like to highlight is in Canada, Toyota is the #1 brand of electrified vehicle. And
Because you sell a lot of hybrid cars.
exactly. And also, we produce here in Canada the #1 electrified vehicle in our fleet, which is the RAV4, and something that we're very proud.
Yeah. And there's a RAV4 plug-in hybrid coming up. I heard there's another rumor, maybe in LA. I don't know. But in the meantime, you have apparently problems to keep up with the demand for hybrid cars. I mean, there's some delays. So what if the Mirai and the RAV4 hybrid and the Prius Prime and all these cars get more and more popular? What's going to happen? Because people are starting to wait more and more to get their, to get their full electric cars from other manufacturers, but to get their hybrid cars from Toyota.
Yeah, it's a situation of two things. There's the capacity to produce batteries, and there's also the capacity to produce vehicles in general, hybrid vehicles and so forth. We are meeting our sales plan, like we just talked a few minutes ago.
So are you a victim of your success? Is that it?
We could. No, I wouldn't say that. Actually, we're very, very proud. We want to sell more electrified vehicle. It is part of our strategy. We are doing partnerships with Panasonic. We announced that earlier this year to produce more efficient type of batteries, look at new technology to further improve our electrified solutions.
Mr. Gilbert, thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Merci.